and it's from Sarah Murdoch in Scituate. The question is, how serious an issue do you consider climate change? Do you support market-based cap-and-trade policies to address this challenge?
You know, I think this is a critical issue for all of us, and I'm struck by when I listen to the Republicans and even watch what's going on in other congressional races around the country. Frankly, how little attention this is getting, because in a sense, it's one of those existential problems. It puts us all at risk, and it's coming, and we need to deal with it. And there are really two ways to go at it. And I've been, one of them, of course, is through regulation, and the other is through cap and trade. I've been a leader in the Senate on most of the environmental legislation. I pushed through the early energy efficiency bills. The first one was my legislation in the Senate. I was a key leader on the regional gas initiative that states in the Northeast put forward. And I wrote the Oceans Management Act that opened up our state waters to offshore wind and renewables. This is something I'm very proud of, I've been very strong on, and I understand the value of regulations in terms of reaching our goals with respect to global warming. However, I think the sounder way to go, but politically more difficult, is through cap and trade, because cap and trade uses the market to get to the same place. It's more, I think, a better process. We've learned that on other environmental issues. It's something we need to do here. But the politics of it are brutal because it drives up the price of carbon and drives up the tempers of everyone who has to deal with that price increase. So I think what we should do, and it's not my idea, is take those dollars that are generated by pricing up carbon and return it to consumers and small businesses in the form of a tax credit, so that in the end the consumer is not feeling the financial pinch, but the energy market is seeing the price increase, and the changes in behavior are then playing out. I think that's a good way to go. There's a proposal floating around in the Congress that would head us in that direction, and I would get behind such an effort.
I'll leave the question again to Bill. How serious an issue do you consider climate change? Do you support market-based cap and trade into policies to address this challenge?
Well, I think it's a very serious issue. I served in a national committee dealing with the acid rain issue. And the way we resolved that problem was a similar model to cap and trade. And it worked. So we know it works, and I was a part of that. I also believe that environmentally we have to look very carefully at all our outcomes, and we have to make hard decisions. One of those hard decisions is Cape Wind. Cape Wind is a decision that I looked at too narrowly in the beginning, and then realized the urgency nationally to deal with the energy issue and to start somewhere and start productively. It will help our economy and create good permanent green jobs. It'll help our environment, and it'll help our national security. You know, I've worked hard when I was in the legislature on environmental issues. I was Environmental Legislator of the Year for the work I did with the Clean Water Bill. I was endorsed in this primary, and if I'm fortunate, in the final by the Sierra Club, nationally. And I'll give one more point to this issue, which I think is important. It's what's wrong with Washington. This bill never came to the floor to even be voted on, and it was held hostage because some of the Democrats wanted to deal with the immigration issue, which has nothing to do with the environment, so they held the vote on this hostage to deal with that. It's that kind of inaction, it's that kind of gridlock that's wrong with this country, and that's why I'm running. Get to the floor and vote on these important issues, and this is one of them.
Well, the Republican Party clearly has been ridiculing the science for decades with respect to climate change. It's been blocking efforts, well thought out, well-fashioned arguments. It blocked Senator Kerry's efforts, which were, frankly, I thought, too deep a step back from really the kinds of policies we need. I think at some point the American public have to stand up and begin to pressure our legislators to begin to move on this issue. This again is one of those generational questions. Are we going to fail to address something early on because we don't want to face the difficult implications of that decision, and let the next generation deal with the consequences? I think that's a mistake. I think we need to move on this issue.